Hi, my name is Said Nadeem, and in today's video, I'm going to talk about Ansible. Now, Ansible is a very famous tool in config management and IT automation industry. It's a tool that has been used for years in system admin and DevOps domain. In this video, I'll be talking about the relevance of the tool in 2025. What are the roles where you should consider this tool? What are the roles that absolutely require Ansible, and what are the roles where you can just let it go? So I'll be talking about how to set it up, what are its prerequisite, how to configure it, and understand the user flow or the action flow of the tool. So hopefully by the end of the video, you should be able to make a calculated judgment whether or not this tool is for you in 2025. So let's get started. All right, so we will be measuring the relevance of this video with respect to these parameters. We'll see what the tool is, what is the use case of the tool, prerequisites like what kind of compiler, interpreter, or language environment you need to have. Then we will see the execution flow, how to set it up basically, and what are the common use cases. We will see the relevance of the tool in 2025, and then the most important question, should you consider it? Is it a must-have tool for you, or you can just avoid it? First, let's understand what the tool is. They have a very nice documentation here, which talks about Ansible, but I'll give you an overview. So let's say you are a system administrator and your responsibility is to configure certain VMs on day-to-day basis. Now, as long as these VMs are few and less in number, and the things that you are installing there are also limited, you don't really need to manage or let's say maintain a state of these environments. But as soon as the number of VMs or the number of softwares configurations keep on increasing, your responsibility, if you choose to do it manually on the VMs, will be very difficult. So what you will do is, or generally what people do is, they have a configuration file which basically says what I want to install in these VMs. Now it's possible that these VMs totally need different kind of things, or let's say out of 10, 5 things are common. They will have modules, or in this case playbook created. So let's come to playbook later. First of all, let's say there is a web server that has to be installed. There is a Docker engine that has to be installed, and really it doesn't matter what the applications are, but I'm just giving one reference. Okay, so what will happen is this system administrator or a DevOps engineer will have multiple modules or multiple files, configuration files basically, that will have the state, the information, what has to be installed. Now, when it has to be installed, that is triggered by the CD tools. But let's say these configurations file, he or she would be managing it, and these have the state. When you have a tool which is able to manage the configurations and do the automation on the fly, that is when you call it an automator or a config manager. And that is what Ansible is. So these files, what the person here would be using, these will be called playbooks. And it really doesn't matter the number of servers where they have to install, right? In some cases, you might have playbook which even create the instances. So for this guy, life becomes very easy when he has a tool. And now for this tool, it has to connect to the VM. So the person would have a centralized server. Let's say this is a master server where all of these files would be checked in. They can be stored in a repository like Bitbucket or GitHub or anywhere, and then they would be, so these files would be present here in the repository, and then whenever the requirement is, we can fetch them from the repository and then install it on the given servers. Okay, now in order to install something on a server on a remote machine, you need to have a client. So this is a master, it needs to have a slave client. In case of Ansible, the communication happens over SSH. So there is no dedicated client where you need to install that particular component on the VMs before installing anything. So in simple words, to make life easy for a DevOps or a system engineer, we have tools like Ansible. And what this tool does is two main things: automation and configuration manager. So it manages the configurations that are present here in the terms called playbook, and then you can create n number of instances of those configurations on the VMs, and your life will become a lot more automated. So in a nutshell, that's what Ansible is. Okay, now let's start with the installation. So you can have different combinations of installation available to you. You can install it directly on a server and call that server as a master, just like how I said. Or you can have something like which I'm going to do, something like a Docker container. So I'm going to use a Docker container, and you can have this container on the laptop or on the master server, dedicated server. Basically, this is the place from where you will be controlling different VMs, in this case your slaves. I have noted out some steps here in the readme, and I will be sharing it with the video. I'll give a link to this, and you can do the same thing. The only thing you need to be mindful about is whether you are using Intel, AMD, or ARM driven Docker desktop, or let's say a Docker platform, whichever you have. If you are using Mac, then it's most probably going to be these steps, and if it is going to be Intel, then these are the steps that you need to run. All right, so first we take a base image of Ubuntu. So let me do that. I most probably might already have it in my VM, in my laptop, that is. So let's see. All right, so it's already there. We are fine. Then the next step is I am going to have certain volumes mounted. Now the prerequisite here, of course, for this kind of installation is that you need to know Docker. But if you are not comfortable with Docker, no need to follow this installation path. You can directly have it installed in the system itself. This is more let's say infrastructure as code driven and lightweight on my VM. That's why I choose this approach. Two things very important here is that you need to create a folder structure. Here in my case, I'm taking it as a volume. So this is where your playbook files will be, the configuration files. I will be storing them in my folder called Ansible. Also, I am mounting the access keys that I have for my AWS account. So basically in this use case, what I will do is I will spin up certain AWS instances, cloud instances, configure something on them, not doing it. So in this example, what I will be doing is I would be configuring and creating new AWS instances with the help of Ansible. So I'll not go into AWS console and create an instance there and all that stuff. All I'll do is I'll just execute my playbook and show you how easy it is, right? But remember, you can do the same thing with other tools. Maybe we'll come to that in the later part of video. This is not a cloud managing solution like Terraform is, but you can actually have multiple cloud instances created, irrespective of whether it's AWS or Google or Azure, with the help of Ansible itself. Okay, so I install this guy, and then I run my command. All right, yeah, so here there is a typo. You don't need to have pull here, only the image name should be sufficient. All right, so basically what I did is I created a structure. This folder came in, and this folder came in. Okay, I mounted them to my system so that I can connect with the help of AWS CLI and integrated with the Ansible. Okay, next. Because I'm using Mac, I will directly go ahead and install these components, what I need. Okay, our installation has finished. So we are good to go so we installed CLI and then we installed Boto. Next is we want to install Ansible. You can use a customized image where Ansible already comes with it. I am showing you the basic raw format, which you can actually follow on any Linux Docker image. But you can simplify the steps if you are comfortable with Docker, and then take something which you already have and preserve it as an image. Otherwise, you can just follow the steps along whatever I have shared, and you'll be good to have a Ansible image. Remember, there are two prerequisites. One prerequisite is that I am saying that AWS credentials, whichever I had, those AWS credentials I am importing in my Ansible, because eventually Ansible has to talk to the API of AWS for our use case. And then second thing is the playbooks. I am importing the playbooks from my local. I'll even attach certain playbooks as a reference for you guys, and you can follow along those examples as well. Those are the two things that you need for making this Docker container run. Okay, let's see if Ansible is running properly. Yes, so Ansible is running properly for us. And now in my current directory, what I'll do is I'll just go to my root and I will create one folder here. I can either use the Ansible one that is already created, or I can just create some sample file. Let me create one so that you can also follow it along easily. So I'll say create instance .yaml. So this will now become my playbook. Okay, and I'm going to take the source code. I have that here. Create an instance. Very simple playbook that I have created, and you guys can also follow along. Just change the IME image that is in your particular region. I'm using Ohio, and you can use anyone which you like. Let's paste it here. Right, looks good. And then I will create one more, let's say instance detail. So this is one more playbook that I created, and here I would fetch the instance details that I just will create from the other playbook. Okay, now executing a playbook has multiple flavors, and that's what makes Ansible powerful. Also, you can use something which is declarative. What I am using, this is called modules. You read about it more, it will be more easier to understand, but this is a declarative way of using the existing modules of Ansible. Or you can even write the AWS CLI commands here directly in the playbook, or you can write the boto if you have some if else and logical conditions to do. Declarative is the most simple one, so we'll use the declarative. All right, and then we have to do is just write Ansible and the name of the file. Okay, so I say Ansible playbook and create instance and run it. Okay, let me open my AWS console so we will see what is happening there. Let's go to Ohio. All right, and if you see, just now one instance got initialized called Ansible demo instance. And where is this guy coming from? It's coming from the playbook that you just now executed. It is as simple as this. So you can have a playbook defined and then run that playbook with the correct credentials. In this case, AWS credential is what I used. You can use any other credential, and then you can manage everything on that instance from here. Now, how is it different from Terraform? This everything whatever we did can be done by Terraform, but Ansible is not only limited to cloud. You can use on-premise instances, you can use your existing Dell racks and your VMware machines and do the same kind of stuff. Ansible is very powerful in that respect. Okay, now let's run the another playbook, and I will say instance details. So basically it will tell me whatever instance are running there, the name of that. Now I can run this playbook 10 times. It will create me 10 new instances. I can run it 100 times. I can get the same kind of configuration what I created by just running one simple command again. And you can of course parameterize it according to your need. So this is basically what Ansible is all about. It's a configuration manager and an automation tool for system admins and DevOps engineers. Now let's go back again to Safari and see if we have another instance also getting created yet. Yeah, so here you are. You want to create something fast, quicker. Ansible is a perfect way to do that. Let's delete these guys because I don't need them anymore. All right, so execution flow. I think it's understandable by the example that you define a desired state in a file and call this file as a playbook. You run the playbook. It doesn't create any new SSH client. It uses the SSH that the machine has. Basically, you don't have to have any minion kind of a agent running on those VMs. You can create the VMs also on the fly. There is no state file on the host. So before the run, there is a check for whether there is a mismatch in the expected state and the state that is running. And this is where the differences with the Terraform also come in. In Terraform, you have a state file. Here, there is a check. There is a live check that happens, and then there is a match. So you can do a dry run also. Dry run is also possible in Ansible, but state file is not there on the host. Okay, and yes, Relevance in 2025. It is a highly recommended tool because of its simplicity. It's versatile and it's powerful, as you just now have seen. Agentless architecture means one less component to install and manage. That's a good choice for operational overhead. And these are its competitors. Basically, I started from SaltStack. SaltStack does something similar, but then it has the overhead of managing another minion. Here, the complexity is less, so you should definitely consider this tool if you are a beginner and want to understand how DevOps work. You should consider it if you are aware of any other tool, so you can consider to enhance your knowledge by learning this tool. So definitely for beginners, beginners should spend their time in 2025 in learning about Ansible, and you can kind of avoid it if you are a small scale, or most of your work is done on cloud and you are container native, uh, because then you will have Kubernetes and you will have container orchestrators where the configurations would be managed by the container deployment YAML files, and then it's kind of a overlap, so you can avoid it. And also, if you are totally cloud native, like you're totally AWS, totally Azure, then you have better options which are native to the cloud, like you have CloudFormation templates and stuff like that. So in that case, you can avoid it. So this was a quick overview of Ansible and its relevance in 2025. Let me know what you think of the video, and do you want me to create more such short videos for other DevOps related tools? I'll see you in the next one.